Programming in C++, explained by V. Subhathra. Now we discussed about the topic constructor and destructor. A constructor is a special member function whose task is to initialize the objects of its class. It's a special because its name is same as the class name. The constructor is invoked whenever an object of its associated class is created. It is called constructor because it constructs the values of data members of the class. Here is the example of constructor. When a class contains a constructor, it is generated that an object created by the class will be initialized automatically. Add A is a constructor. Not only creates the object of type add but also initializes its data members M and N to 0. There is no need to write any statement to invoke the constructor function. If a normal member function is defined for 0 initialization, we would need to invoke this function for each of the objects separately. A constructor that accepts no parameters is called the default constructor. Here is the characteristics of constructors. They should be declared in the public section. They are invoked automatically when the objects are created. They do not have return types, not even void, and they cannot return values. They cannot be inherited, though a derived class can call the base class constructor. Like other C++ functions, constructor can have default arguments. Constructors cannot be virtual. We cannot refer to their addresses. An object with a constructor or destructor cannot be used as a member of union. They make implicit calls to the operators new and delete when memory allocation is required. When a constructor is declared for a class initialization of the class objects become mandatory. Now we discussed about the parameterized constructor. It may be necessary to initialize the various data elements of different objects with different values when they are created. This is achieved by passing arguments to the constructor function when the objects are created. The constructors that can take arguments are called parameterized constructors. Here is the syntax of parameterized constructor. When a constructor is parameterized, we must pass the initial value as arguments to the constructor function when an object is declared. Now we discussed about multiple constructors in a class. C++ permits to use more than one constructors in a single class. Here is the syntax of multiple constructor in a class. The first constructor receives no arguments. The second constructor receives 2 integer arguments. The third constructor receives one object as an argument. Now we are discussed about destructors. A destructor is used to destroy the objects that have been created by a constructor. Like constructor, the destructor is a member function whose name is the same as the class name but is preceded by a title. A destructor never takes any arguments nor does it return any value. It will be invoked implicitly by the compiler upon exit from the program or block or functions as the case may be, to clean up storage that is no longer accessible. Thank you.